My name's Tasha. I'm 24, and I've been working since I was 15. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. My family always needed a little extra help with money. At first, it was just a part-time job at a local cafe to chip in for groceries. I didn't mind it then. I thought that's what family does. We help each other out. I live, or used to live, with my parents and my younger sister Kelly in a small house on the east side of town. My dad works part-time at the factory down the road. Mom hasn't worked in years because of her poor health. And Kelly? Well, Kelly is special, according to my parents. She's 21 and has never held a real job. She's too busy trying to become a YouTube star. 2 years ago, I graduated from college with a business degree. I was so proud of myself. For years of studying while working part-time jobs, and I finally had a diploma. I landed a decent office job at Henderson and Company right after graduation. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was stable. I remember thinking, this is it. Now I can finally move out and start my own life. But when I told my parents I wanted to look for my own place, Mom burst into tears. Please, Tasha, she said, grabbing my hand. Just stay a little longer, until Kelly gets on her feet. I'm not well enough to work yet, and your father's hours got cut again. I should have seen the red flags then, but they were my family, and I loved them, so I stayed. At first, it was just groceries. I'd come home with bags full of food, filling the fridge and pantry. Then the cable bill needed paying because Kelly needs internet access for her videos. Then the utilities. Then everything. Before I knew it, I was covering every single household expense, every damn dollar. My entire paycheck was going to them, while I scrimped and saved whatever was left for myself. I couldn't even remember the last time I bought myself new clothes or went out with friends. And Kelly? She spent her days filming videos in her room, convinced she was going to be the next big thing. She needed an expensive camera. I bought it. She needed new clothes to look good on camera. I paid for them. Manicures, makeup, lighting equipment, all on my dime. It's an investment, Mom would say whenever I questioned these expenses. Once Kelly makes it big, she'll pay you back tenfold. I was stupid enough to believe it. Last Tuesday was my birthday. I got off work early, picked up a small cake on the way home, nothing fancy, just something sweet to celebrate with, and walked through the front door, expecting at least a happy birthday from my family. Instead, I found my suitcase sitting in the hallway and boxes of my stuff piled next to it. What's going on? I asked, still holding the stupid cake. Are you guys moving my things? Kelly was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up with this smirk that made my stomach drop. Happy birthday, Tash, she said. You'll be celebrating in your new place. I stood there confused as Mom came out of my bedroom with another box of my stuff. Oh, Tasha, you're home early, she said, not even looking me in the eye. We were going to tell you tonight. It's time for you to move out and start living as an adult. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Today, on my birthday? I live here. This is my room. Dad cleared his throat. Actually, it's Kelly's room now. She needs a proper studio for her videos. She's making good money from YouTube now. Making money, I repeated. This was news to me. Since when? 4 months now, Kelly said proudly. And Mom and Dad agreed that I should have your room. I need the space. But where am I supposed to go? I asked, my voice rising. I need time to find a place, save for a deposit. Not our problem, Kelly cut in. I've already called a crew to start renovating tomorrow. I'm turning it into a proper studio. I looked at my parents, hoping they'd step in, say something, anything, but they just stood there, avoiding my eyes. We're doing this for your own good, Mom finally said. You've been living with us too long. It's time for you to start your own life. That's when it hit me. All these years, all the money I'd given them, all the bills I'd paid, all the sacrifices I'd made. They didn't care about me. I was just their personal ATM. And now that Kelly thought she could replace me as the family cash cow, they were tossing me aside. I set the cake down on the table. My hands were shaking with anger, but I refused to let them see me cry. So that's it? After everything I've done for this family? Kelly has a plan, Dad said. Like that explained everything. She's going to live here rent-free and save up to buy her own place. Smart, right? I stood there, watching as Kelly took a phone call, chatting with the renovation crew about what she wanted done to my room. She was talking about painting the walls, adding shelves, special lighting, plans she'd obviously made days or weeks ago. That's when I knew this wasn't a sudden decision. They'd been planning this, behind my back, for a while, waiting until they thought they didn't need me anymore. I took out my phone and called the only person I thought might help, my friend Jess. "Hey, can I crash at your place for a bit?" I asked, walking away from my family so they wouldn't hear the shake in my voice. "I'm kind of homeless now." As I packed the rest of my things, I remembered the $4,000 I'd managed to squirrel away in a separate account my family didn't know about. Thank God for that small bit of foresight. It wasn't much, but it would cover a deposit and first month's rent somewhere. I left without saying goodbye. The cake sat untouched on the table as I walked out the door. Jess's apartment was tiny, but it felt like a sanctuary after what had just happened. She didn't ask questions when I showed up at her door with tear-stained cheeks and boxes of my stuff. That's the kind of friend she is. I told her everything as we sat on her couch drinking cheap wine. With each word, the reality of my situation sank in deeper. I'd been kicked out of my own home on my birthday by the very people I'd been supporting for years. "I can't believe they did that to you," Jess said, refilling my glass. "After everything you've done for them." "I kept thinking they'd appreciate it someday," I replied, staring into my wine. "That they'd see how much I was sacrificing." "Screw them," Jess said firmly. "You're better off without people like that in your life, even if they are family." She was right. I'd been too busy taking care of everyone else to take care of myself. Over the next few days, I started apartment hunting. Nothing fancy, just somewhere small and affordable that was mine. With my $4,000 savings, I could cover a deposit and first month's rent. I found a place within a week, a studio apartment about 20 minutes from work. It was basic, a kitchenette, a bathroom with a shower that barely fit me, and enough space for a bed and small couch. But when I signed that lease and got the keys, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. Moving in was quick since I didn't own much. I'd always spent my money on my family rather than myself. The few pieces of furniture I had were hand-me-downs or cheap finds from secondhand stores. But it was mine, all mine. Once I was settled, I threw myself into work. Without my family draining my bank account, I was amazed at how much money I actually had left each month after paying my own bills. For the first time, I could buy myself new clothes without feeling guilty. I could go out for dinner occasionally. I could even start putting money into savings. My boss, Mr. Richardson, nodded approvingly. "Keep it up, we've got our eye on you." Those words gave me a rush of pride. For once, someone was noticing my hard work. About a month after moving out, curiosity got the better of me. I looked up Kelly's YouTube channel. To my surprise, it had grown significantly. She had hundreds of thousands of followers now. Her videos, mostly beauty tutorials and day-in-my-life vlogs, were getting decent views. In her newest video, she was showing off her new studio space, my old bedroom, completely transformed with expensive equipment and fancy decor. I felt a twinge of something. Not exactly jealousy, maybe resentment. After all, I'd bought her first camera, paid for countless outfits and makeup products that helped her get started, and not once in any video did she ever mention or thank me. I clicked through her social media. There she was on vacation in the Bahamas, lounging on pristine beaches with fancy cocktails. There she was showing off designer clothes and bags. There she was announcing she'd put a down payment on her own apartment. Good for her, I muttered, closing the browser. I wasn't going to let it bother me. I had my own life to focus on. And focus I did. I started taking additional training courses to improve my skills at work. I volunteered for projects nobody else wanted. I stayed late when needed. Mr. Richardson took notice, and so did other managers. I was building a reputation as someone reliable, someone who got things done. Meanwhile, not a word from my parents. No calls checking if I was okay. No texts asking how I was doing. Nothing. It was like I'd never existed to them. The complete silence hurt more than I wanted to admit, but I pushed those feelings down and kept moving forward. Then, 3 months after I'd moved out, my phone lit up with my mother's name. I stared at it, heart racing. 10 missed calls over the past 2 days. I hadn't even noticed. For a moment, I considered not answering. But what if something had happened? What if someone was hurt? The 11th call came in as I was debating. With a deep breath, I answered. Tasha. Oh, thank God. Mom's voice was frantic. We'd been trying to reach you for days. Kelly's in trouble, big trouble. Mom was crying now. Her channel got shut down. Someone sued her for using their videos without permission. Copyright infringement. They're asking for a huge fine we can't pay. I sat down on my bed, processing this. I'm sorry to hear that. We need you to come home, honey. Mom's voice softened. That manipulative tone I knew too well creeping in. We miss you. We made a mistake. We never should have asked you to leave. We need you here. Things can go back to how they were. You can help with the bills again, and maybe help Kelly with her mortgage payments so she doesn't lose her apartment. I almost laughed. Almost. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You kick me out on my birthday, don't contact me for 3 months, and now you want me to come back and not only pay your bills again, but also take on Kelly's mortgage? You don't understand how hard things are right now? Mom's voice rose. We have no money. I haven't worked in 3 years. Your father's hours got cut again. Kelly's lost everything. That's when something clicked in me, a final shift that severed whatever obligation I still felt toward them. Mom, I said calmly, you could go back to work. Plenty of women your age work. Dad could look for a better job. Kelly could get a real job instead of trying to be an internet celebrity. How can you be so heartless? She cried. We're your family. Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me, I replied. I'm not coming back. I'm not paying your bills. And I'm definitely not taking on Kelly's mortgage. I hung up before she could respond. Within minutes, my phone was blowing up with texts, from Mom, from Dad, even from Kelly. I turned it off. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me again. Not now. Not ever. That night, I slept better than I had in years, in my tiny apartment, surrounded by my few possessions, finally free of the weight of carrying my entire family on my back. The calls and messages didn't stop after that first conversation with Mom. If anything, they intensified. My parents bombed my phone with texts, voicemails, and calls at all hours. I blocked their numbers, but they started using other phones to reach me. Tasha, please, Dad's voice said in one voicemail. We made a mistake. We need you. Need, not miss, not love, need. I deleted it without calling back. Then came the flying monkeys. Aunt Linda called first. Your mother is beside herself, she said. How could you abandon your family when they need you most? They abandoned me first, I replied, on my birthday, with a renovation crew already scheduled to take over my room. Aunt Linda went quiet for a moment. Well, I'm sure they didn't mean. They meant it. They just didn't expect Kelly's YouTube career to implode. I hung up and blocked her number too. Cousin Mike was next, then Uncle Dave, then my mother's best friend, Mrs. Henderson. Each call followed the same script. Your family needs you. How could you be so cruel? Family should stick together. I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I set my social media to private. I built a wall between me and the family that had used me for years. Meanwhile, I was thriving at work. 6 months after moving out, Mr. Richardson called me into his office. I was nervous. These impromptu meetings usually meant trouble. I've been watching your performance, he began, and I've been impressed. You're consistently our top performer in the department, and your attitude is exceptional. Thank you, sir. We have a position opening up in the senior analyst role. More responsibility, but also a significant bump in salary. I'd like to recommend you for it. Are you interested? Absolutely, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite my excitement. Good. The promotion comes with a 30% salary increase. Think you can handle that? He smiled. and I realized he was making a joke. "I'll manage somehow," I replied, smiling back. That night, I celebrated alone in my tiny apartment. A 30% raise meant I could look for a better place, maybe even start saving seriously for the future. For the first time, I felt like my life was truly moving forward. I found a new apartment closer to work, still small, but with actual separate rooms instead of a studio. I signed the lease the following week and moved in over the weekend. As I unpacked my meager belongings, I realized how little I'd accumulated over the years. Everything I owned fit into a few boxes. All my money had gone to my family. Well, that was going to change. I made a list of things I needed and wanted, prioritizing needs but allowing myself a few wants too. A proper bed frame, a decent couch, kitchenware that wasn't secondhand, small luxuries that most adults took for granted, but I'd never been able to afford. Most importantly, I set up a savings account and started funneling money into it every paycheck. I was determined never to be financially vulnerable again. One evening, while grocery shopping, and still marveling at how food I bought stayed in my fridge until I ate it, I ran into my cousin Sarah. Unlike the others, she'd never called to guilt-trip me. "Tasha," she said, giving me a quick hug. "How are you? You look great." "I'm good," I replied cautiously. "How about you?" "Can't complain. Listen." She lowered her voice. "I heard what happened with your parents and Kelly. That was really shitty of them." I relaxed slightly. "Yeah, it was. Kelly's back home now, did you know? The bank took her apartment. Besides, she financed all that expensive equipment on credit, thinking the YouTube money would keep coming in." I nodded, not particularly surprised. Kelly had never been good with money or planning ahead. "Your mom's working again at the grocery store," Sarah continued. "Kelly's trying to restart her channel, but it's not going well. Your parents want her to get a real job, but she refuses. There are huge fights practically every day." Part of me felt a twinge of satisfaction hearing this, but mostly I just felt tired. Tired of the drama, tired of being the family scapegoat, tired of caring what they said about me. "How do you know all this?" I asked. "I had dinner there last week. It was uncomfortable. Your mom spent half the time crying about how ungrateful you are, and the other half yelling at Kelly to stop filming and help with the dishes. Sounds like a fun evening," I said dryly. Sarah laughed. "It was awful. But hey, you look like you're doing well." "I am, got a promotion, new apartment, saving money for the first time in my life." "Good for you," she said. And she seemed genuinely happy for me. "Don't let their BS drag you down. You deserve better." As we parted ways, I realized I felt nothing about my family's problems. No guilt, no obligation to fix things, not even anger anymore, just nothing. They'd made their choices, and I'd made mine. By the end of that year, I had saved $20,000, more money than I'd ever had at once in my life. Some might not think that's a lot, but to me, it represented freedom, security, the ability to breathe without constantly worrying about money. And I had plans for some of it. In 2 months, I was going on my first real vacation in years, a week at a beach resort. Nothing extravagant, but something I would never have been able to afford while supporting my family. As I booked the trip online, I couldn't help smiling. A year ago, I was buying groceries for 4 people, paying everyone's bills, and going to bed hungry because my sister had eaten the leftovers I was saving for lunch the next day. Now I was planning a vacation, building savings, and living in a nice apartment near my job where I'd been promoted. All because I'd finally put myself first. Last week, I got another call from my cousin Mike. Unlike the other relatives who'd tried to guilt-trip me, Mike had always been decent. We weren't close, but he'd never taken sides in family drama. "Just thought you should know," he said after we exchanged awkward greetings. "Your sister's telling everyone a different story now." "What's she saying this time?" I asked, not really caring, but curious enough to listen. "That you left because you were jealous of her success. That you can't stand seeing her do well in life while you're just some office worker." He sounded uncomfortable repeating it. She's saying you refused to help her when she needed it most because you wanted her to fail. I laughed. I couldn't help it. She's the one who took my room and kicked me out on my birthday. I know. Sarah told me what really happened, Mike said. Just wanted to warn you that Kelly's spreading this stuff all over social media. She's trying to restart her channel with some sob story about family betrayal or something. Thanks for the heads up, I said. But honestly, I don't care what she says anymore. And the crazy thing was, I really didn't. A year ago, hearing that my sister was bad-mouthing me would have torn me apart. Now it barely registered as important. Your parents are backing her up too, Mike added. Aunt Carol called me last night, saying your mom told her they're about to lose the house because of you. I sighed. They're not losing the house because of me. They're losing the house because Dad works part-time. Mom only recently went back to work after 3 years. And Kelly won't get a real job. That's not on me. After we hung up, I sat on my couch looking around my apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean, comfortable, and mine. My fridge was full of food, my food, that no one else would eat without asking. My bills were paid on time. My savings account was growing. And in just a few weeks, I'd be lying on a beach enjoying my first real vacation. I pulled out my laptop and, against my better judgment, looked up Kelly's new channel. She had a fraction of her previous followers. Her latest video was titled, "My Sister Abandoned Me When I Needed Her Most." The thumbnail showed her crying dramatically, mascara running down her face. I didn't click on it. I didn't need to hear whatever lies she was telling to strangers on the internet. Instead, I closed the laptop and went back to planning my vacation. The next morning, I woke up to another voicemail from my mother. Tasha, please. Her voice trembled with what I used to think was genuine emotion, but now recognized as manipulation. We're about to lose everything. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Your father's hours got cut again. Kelly's depressed and won't leave her room. Can't you find it in your heart to help your family? Just this once? Just this once. As if I hadn't been supporting them for years. As if I hadn't given them nearly every penny I earned. As if they hadn't thrown me out the moment they thought they didn't need me anymore. I deleted the message without calling back. At work, Mr. Richardson stopped by my desk. How's the Johnson project coming along? Ahead of schedule, I replied. I should have the final analysis for you by Thursday instead of Monday. He nodded approvingly. That's what I like to hear. The client's impressed with your work, by the way. Said you caught issues their previous analysts missed for years. Just doing my job, I said. But inside I was glowing. It felt good to be valued. To have my work recognized. Keep it up, and we might be having another conversation about advancement before the end of the year, he said with a knowing smile before walking away. Another promotion? Within a year of the first one? I'd gone from feeling stuck in a cycle of financial abuse to having a genuine career path. After work, I went shopping for my upcoming vacation. I needed summer clothes, sunscreen, a new swimsuit, simple things that most people wouldn't think twice about buying, but that had been impossible luxuries for me just a year ago. As I browsed through racks of sundresses, my phone pinged with a text from Jess. Drinks tonight? Got news. I smiled and texted back. I'm in, 7 p.m. At Joe's? Shopping bags in hand, I headed home to get ready. My tiny apartment welcomed me with its peaceful quiet. No one demanding money, no one eating my food, no one making me feel guilty for existing. Later that night, over margaritas, Jess told me she'd gotten engaged. I hugged her, genuinely thrilled for her happiness. I want you to be my maid of honor, she said. I felt tears prick my eyes. I'd be honored. We clinked glasses and she leaned forward. So, any interesting developments in your life? Dating anyone new? I shook my head. Not yet. I'm focusing on me right now. Healing, saving money, building my career. Good for you, she said. After everything you've been through with your family, you deserve to put yourself first. My family had never seen that. To them, I was just a resource to be used until depleted, then discarded. They'd only reached out again when they needed something from me. But I had broken that cycle. I had walked away. And now I was building a life that was truly mine. That night, I updated my vacation countdown app. Just 6 more weeks until I'd be feeling sand between my toes and ocean breeze on my face. 6 more weeks until I'd experience something I'd dreamed about but never thought possible while carrying my family's financial burdens. I thought about what my mother had said in her voicemail, about losing everything, about needing me to save them again. Once, those words would have pulled me back into their toxic orbit. I would have emptied my savings account, canceled my vacation plans, and rushed to their rescue. I would have sacrificed my needs for theirs, as I always had, but not anymore. I was done feeling responsible for adults who refuse to take responsibility for themselves, done feeling guilty for prioritizing my own well-being, done being the family ATM. As I got ready for bed, I felt completely at peace with my decision to maintain my distance. The problems my family faced were of their own making. Their financial struggles weren't my burden to bear.